Hi, my loves. If we've been following each other for a while, then you likely know that I'm kind of into the world of reality, celebrity, Hollywood drama, and gossip. It's so my jam. And it only makes sense that I would combine the world of reality celebrity love with that of my fascination and devotion to the stars. Thus, me bringing you our new segment of the show, Cosmic Culture, a place where we talk about the stars and the people that think that they're stars. And to kick off our new series, I am bringing on my new friends, Cosmic Guides Emma and Tasha, who are hosts of the podcast House of Bravo. And together we are decoding all of the astrological secrets behind your favorite Bravolebrities. We have a blast unpacking it all. There are mystical insights, jamming out on our favorite episodes, what we want to see next in the Bravo universe. Please enjoy. You're going to love this because I love it and we love each other. Welcome to Cosmic Culture. I'm Danielle Mercurio, and this is the show where we talk about the stars and the people that think they're stars.
Danielle Mercurio, it's time for the show with Danielle. Welcome to your radio show. Danielle Mercurio, it's time for the show. It's time for the show.
I couldn't get into Canva today to download something. Yes, 2 days ago I was trying to send a client her session, like the recording of her session, and it would not go through. So yeah, I don't know what's happening.
I know. Something still is very funky going on. My computer wasn't starting this morning, and I was like, well, that's convenient. But it's okay. We're here. I already started recording. That's how I roll.
I was going to say, Emma's also very, I think, we've talked about this on the podcast before, but Emma's like super Gemini in her sixth house. So these retrogrades just really gnarly.
Well, especially than the last one for you.
Yeah, this year I just have a feeling is going to be more intense for me. Some astrologer told me that, and I don't remember what her reasoning was. We all have like those little bits of the chart that we see, and but yeah, I took that with very much a grain of salt, but this last one I was like, oh no, maybe I should buckle in for the rest of the year.
Yeah. I feel it. Well, I think two things are going on. First of all, I will get my chart read by someone to see my blind spots as well, but then I usually wind up just getting grumpy and I'm like, what do you mean? I thought you were going to tell me everything's fabulous. Yet at the same time, with Mercury retrograde, do you think they're just going to continue to get worse because of the rise of technology, because we're using so many devices now? Is it just it seems like it's getting quote unquote worse, but is it just because we have such a higher saturation of technology?
Very interesting. Emma, do you want to go first?
Just a theory.
I would say no. I think it's just kind of similar to what we say about, is the world becoming a worse place? No, we're just so connected through that technology that we're more aware of these snafus. But I mean, Mercury, yes, it rules technology and can mess with that, but it's also our words, accidents with our body, depending on where Mercury is falling in your chart and what it's aspecting, it can affect so many things. Transportation, so carriages, whether your wheel fell off. So I don't know that it's more, I think it's just kind of more apparent maybe.
Yeah.
I have an image of a wheel falling off right now.
Me too. I'm on the Oregon Trail.
Man, his foot getting clubbed or something, and he's like, well, there goes my transportation.
Retrogrades. I mean, for me, I think it just, happens to coincide with the rise and the permeation of astrology in the mainstream media. There's an awareness around it. It's almost like, once you recognize what you're searching for, you kind of see it everywhere type of energy, quite literally. So I think that's also what's happening with the retrograde. But, to Emma's point, Mercury rules communication and words. And I think that this is maybe like a 30,000, mundane astrology perspective, but, the world kind of getting a little more bifurcated. Everyone's like moving into spectrums, and like people are having just the hardest time hearing each other out. So I think it sets up the stage for a lot of miscommunication. And I think maybe that's how you can also see the retrograde effect being more retrograde-y than normal even.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, no matter what, there's always opportunity in it, right? And so it's like, what's the opportunity? What can it show us, right? What can you personally do with this, right? As opposed to kind of Emma was saying, it's like, oh no, is the world getting worse? It's like, well, let's stop looking at it from such a big macro perspective and let's bring it into your world and just be like, hey, like, what's in your immediate circle that this could be addressing? And how do you want to go from there?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm into it. Mercury retrograde solved. Okay, so I was telling Tasha before we started recording, I don't normally have astrologers on the show, so this is exciting, let alone, two of you. Like, I'm getting really saucy here. So I would love to hear kind of your background with astrology. Like, how did it find you? How do you, what is your relationship to astrology? And whoever wants to go first.
Tasha, go for it.
Oh my gosh. This is so funny. I feel like I've been reborn as an astrologer. Like I was an astrologer in a past life. I've kind of said jokingly, like I've never felt good at anything. I've never felt naturally inclined to anything. And astrology is sort of the one thing where I look at a chart and it just makes sense. Everything connects. The story is there. And my Cancer sun is in my 9th house. There are just all these different significations on top of other placements. But, I found astrology through my astrologer, Pooja Robinson, who is a dear friend. And I got my reading during my Saturn return, which was back in 2020. And, ultimately, Saturn did its thing. Saturn set me on my paths, and Saturn kind of shook me into this new understanding of self. And I'm also currently practicing evolutionary astrology. I speak, to the soul. I'm currently enrolled at Stephen Forrest's Forrest Center of Evolutionary Astrology in their craftsperson program. I'm obsessed with it, but I found that it's just helped me humanize people in such a way and find compassion for myself even. It's helped me understand myself in a way I could never have imagined. And as a Sag moon, finding meaning in my life and purpose is always going to be so important. So astrology really does it for me, and I'm just so happy to give it back to people.
Yeah. Ooh, I love that. So good. And I love that you're in the evolutionary piece of it too. That's exciting. Yeah. Love that.
Carrying the flag.
As you should. Okay, Emma.
Yeah. I also was reborn as an astrologer, but in a very different way. And by that, I just mean that I feel like in my short 3 decades on this planet, I've already lived multiple lives. I used to be a cartographer and I did disaster mapping. And then I was in tech as a project manager. And then also during my Saturn return, I quit corporate life and just decided I was going to travel, Sagittarius Rising, and figure out my life. And along the way, I found Human Design, which is astrology adjacent. And it's like such an overwhelming system. And I knew it was my system, but I was like, okay, how can I get into this in a more accessible way? What do I know about this? Okay, astrology. Like I can wrap my head around that. So it kind of started from there. And then simultaneously, I found out very quickly that there was something called astrocartography. And as someone who was a cartographer, I mean, the fact that I could combine these two passions of mine as an avid traveler, as a humanitarian, as a cartographer. So yeah, and I just like, for me, as someone who is a project manager, I have a 6th house stellium. So like organization systems, very important to me. My work is all about actionable and like applicable to your everyday life? How can you use this information to not just be like, okay, I'm more aware of myself now, and that's cool. Or like, okay, I can give myself permission slips to be me. Cool. Like all that's amazing. But like, how do you actually like apply this in your day-to-day life to live a more aligned, joyful, balanced existence? So that's how this world found me.
Yeah, and it's so great. And both of the ways that you describe astrology too, once again, I mean, not that anyone listening to the show would care, but like it doesn't sound woo-woo. It doesn't sound out there, right? You're presenting it in these really beautiful ways. And like for me, I love that you're both reborn astrologers. I am as well. When I was 4,
Ooh.
yeah, woo, and somehow I landed in a Catholic household, but so astrology wasn't present there in that. I mean, Jesus was not born December 25th, by the way. Like, I can't imagine that.
Shock. Oh my gosh. Big
like,
shock.
So first of all, they got it wrong.
We're breaking news here.
Yeah. Sorry for anyone that's like holding on to that, being like a sun sign to JC. But for me, I remember being in the grocery store and they used to have the scrolls of the sun signs. And I saw my birthday's August 9th and I saw Leo and I was like, what is this? Right. And I stole it. But I mean, I feel like if there was ever something to steal and get away with, like that was it.
That's the fire energy. That's your fire triplicity right there.
I was just like, I need this, you
I
know?
also think like this is going to be a controversial statement. I think everyone needs to steal one thing at least in their life. Like whether it throws you into a guilt tailspin or it sets you on a path of that being what you do. Like,
Sure.
I just think it's something that everyone should experience.
Okay. Yeah, we'll put that out there. So I did, you know, and look what it's done for me. So to your point, you know, a lot better than if I had just taken a like pack of gum. So, but there's nothing wrong with that if that's the thing you want to be the thing that you steal.
But also want to acknowledge that inherently the privilege in the comment around how we can afford to steal and some might not be able to so much. Different life trajectory. Yes. Sag moon again. My sag moon can't help itself.
Oh, as you should. This is the moment to add that in. So, but point being, I think it came from a space of like this inherent knowing, right? Like there's something about this. There's something that is showing me who I'm supposed to be when I grow up. Like that's how I felt with it for so long. So it was like my secret obsession and my secret psychology to understand myself. And then I started to learn I could understand other people through this methodology. And then it was during like my 20s when, you know, life got weird and messy and I didn't know what I wanted to do and Saturn return hit. And I actually turned my back on astrology because it almost was too hard to look at it, right? Like when you're in a place in your life where you don't feel in alignment, when you're feeling depressed, when you think about the future and it's just like, I don't see anything, it felt like a mockery to look at my chart. And so it wasn't until my Saturn return brought me to a place to get like real help and like take, you know, things seriously that then I started to like open up to astrology again. And when I got my life coaching certification, I started to realize, oh, just like what you had said, Emma, it's like, okay, this awareness is great, right? I can look at my chart and I can take all of this awareness and that's helpful in and of itself. But then where do we go from here, right? What's the plan of action? How do we implement? How do we move forward? And so it became this like really delicious hybrid. So just thought I would share too. And I'm living on the Venus line right now. That's part of why I chose where I live currently, because my Venus line.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I was born on my Venus descendant. So that's with me wherever I go. That's why even though I'm a Jupiter or Sagittarius Rising, so like Jupiter is my chart ruler, Venus is my life ruler.
That's how Saturn is for me. I was born on my Saturn line while my mom was going through her Saturn return.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were living in a hotel. Yeah. It was like, what? I guess I was having my own Jesus story. Think about it, right? Do you know what you were born on, Tasha?
Pluto line. And I'm in New York and I'm on my Pluto line again.
I was going to say, and thus I know your Instagram handle is
Agent of Pluto. Yeah, Pluto's on my ascendant, and Pluto also squares my Jupiter, Mercury, and midheaven. So, there's a lot of Plutonian influence in the chart. And I'm a Scorpio rising, and I love it. And I love embracing Pluto. And I think the more you embrace Pluto, it's a lot easier to work with amid such very immense potential difficulty. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I tell people that a lot. And like, you just have to kind of make a peace agreement with Pluto and like really look at it from the space of like, it really does love you. It's just,
Hmm.
a unique kind of framework that it presents. And so,
Definitely.
yeah.
All the malefics, supposedly, right? Like even Saturn, tough love. Like I'm so thankful my life fell apart so I could find this new life.
Absolutely.
Tough love in a nutshell,
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you two connect? Like, hey, astrology, reality,
Bravo.
do it. Yeah.
Well, actually, Emma's sort of the OG idea for this. We met in a group forum, I think 11th House, run by Kira Taborn at the time. I don't think it's available anymore, but I'm so glad we met when we did because it was ephemeral. But Emma had literally posted, is anyone interested in Bravo and astrology? And I think like 3 of us jumped on like a quick group hang, smoke sesh chat. And then, a month or so later, Emma asked me to be her co-host on this. And it was such an amazing offer. I couldn't refuse. It made me feel like a projector, like someone's inviting me into something. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. But I'm not a projector. I'm a generator.
Yeah, it's funny because I had a podcast before and I liked it, but I didn't love it because it was by myself. And there's just like, I'm a Gemini. I want that other person to have a conversation with, as so many other things in my chart point to that. But yeah, so I was like, I don't know anyone in my life who is interested in Bravo or knows astrology well enough to like have these conversations. So I like wanted to find my co-host. And as Tasha mentioned, like we did this little session and everyone was like, wow, that sounds like a great idea. And I can't wait to listen to it, but I don't feel like I'm qualified enough to speak to that. And I was like, well, I don't know. I feel like people are just doubting themselves. And Tasha and I and a few of the others like continued to speak. And Tasha would just like message me after Bravo shows happen. And she'd be like, oh my God, did you see this? And I pulled her chart and blah, blah, blah. And so after a month of this, I said to her, I was like, okay, you are ready for this because we're already doing it. So can we just start recording this? And
yes. Oh my God. Yes. And that's so important to like, I just want to emphasize that to anyone that has like all these ideas in your head. You likely, especially like in this case, you're already doing it. So just make the choice to like hit record or, put the pen to paper or hit publish or whatever it may be. Cause it's like, if you're talking about it all the time, thinking about it, practicing, you got this.
Yeah, because honestly, like in terms of astrology, Tasha's way more skilled than I am. I specialize in Astrocartography and Human Design. Sure. So it's just like funny that she, like, and I'm sure the other ladies in the group as well were also way more qualified to have these discussions than they thought. But I could see Tasha's passion while we were having these text conversations. Like, and we just had such a great rapport because we're so different and we see things very differently. Like we're only a few years apart, but I feel generational differences between us. And I think that's what makes it really interesting, both in conversation, but I think also to the listeners to hear these very different takes on what we're seeing and our ideas and perspectives on it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I love all of it. Love the synergy. Love that you came together on this. Okay, let's switch to, and I know, it's not just the Bravo house. I saw you open up into other reality pockets as well, like Selling Sunset and whatnot. Cause like, how can we not? But
everything's connected.
Yeah. I didn't get a chance. I saw the episode about Nick Cannon and going down.
Oh,
that. Yeah. That's like in my queue. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get in on that.
It's so funny how that, honestly, it was so random. I don't know what I read, but Nick Cannon popped up and I immediately texted Emma. I'm like, oh my God, can we like look at Nick Cannon's chart? Because literally this man has Jupiter in like his 5th house. Like, how can we not talk about this?
Yeah.
Exactly. And like all his karma is around relationships and intimacy and family. So it's like this story is too good, and he had a double A rating, and I'm like, we got to go for it. And then now you see all of Nick Cannon randomly appearing, and then I did not realize Brie on Selling Sunset was mother of a child. So everything's connected.
Everything is connected, especially in that world. Wait, have you been to like a BravoCon yet?
Yes,
How
last year.
you went to
Tasha
last year?
went.
Oh
I
my
think
God.
so.
Yeah, I'm not great with like I want to go, but sometimes I get weird about crowds. It's so weird. I used to be like a
Fair.
raver and like in all of it, and now I'm like, ooh, there might be like people sitting next to me.
I
But
feel
like,
like once you are aware of energy,
yeah,
you are now so much more inclined to want to protect it. And so like these large spaces are just so superimposing.
yeah.
Hmm.
But still, like, I'm saying, yeah. But how was it?
Yeah, no, I mean it was oh my gosh, it was such an experience. I went by myself and I was like, I'm just gonna go pub us, let's see how this goes. I was involved in the Beverly Hills Stampede. That was crazy. It was like running for your dear life because you did not want to
And my
get
fears
Mufasa.
solidified, right? Yeah.
Literally, it was like a Mufasa moment. I was like, no one's gonna step over me. I'm not dying here. But it was just awesome. I mean, everyone was just so united by their love for Bravo. Everyone was just so into it. Like you could literally have a conversation with anyone because everyone knew what you were talking about, and it was kind of a really cool environment. You got to take pictures with folks, but the lines were really long and the tickets were pretty pricey. So I don't really know how much Vegas is going to cost this year, but it was already really expensive last go around. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like as much as I'm a fan of the shows, which clearly I am, I'm not a fan of the people. Like I'm not someone who cares about celebrity.
Yeah.
Like I remember I grew up right outside of New York, and my dad, we would go to the city all the time. And, you just see celebrities in the city. And every time we would see a celebrity, and I'm like a little kid who doesn't care, he'd be like, oh, go get that person's autograph. Like, oh, there's Sarah Jessica Parker walking down the street. And I'm like, she's walking down the street. I'm not going to bother her. Like, Uma Thurman was breastfeeding next to us at a restaurant. And he was like, oh, go ask her for an autograph. I'm like, excuse you, no. Like, that's so inappropriate.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah, I'm very similar in that way. I lived in New York and LA, and so again, you see them milling around, and just that's cool in and of itself. It's like, oh yeah, there they are. And then when it comes to
people,
yeah, totally. Like it's just, I don't know. I think it's cool to. I'm actually more into the observance, like just to witness, like not in this creepy staring way, but I'm just kind of like, okay, there they are. They're doing their thing. Like I remember one time I saw Mandy Moore at Penn Station. And
oh my God. Oh,
was
wow.
so confused. And I almost wanted to go up to help her because she was like, she kept looking at the board where the trains were listed. And then she kept walking over the machine where you would like buy your tickets. And she just kept walking. Like I saw her walk back and forth like 3 times. And I was like, should I like ask if she needs help? But then I think I was just happy to watch her in her little confusion. And then I think she got a ticket. And like, as far as like Bravo people. So I've had one interaction, like as far like I've seen a lot of the Bravo people just milling around, but my main interaction was with James Kennedy. I don't know if I ever publicly told this story. So I don't know, this was pre-pandemic. So this is like a few years ago. It might have even been like February 2020. There was a podcast conference in Orlando, and he was there because he was going to do, I don't know if it ever happened, but he was going to do a podcast called It's Not About the Podcast. I think that's what it's called. Not about the podcast. The podcast.
He's got Aquarius, right? Somewhere.
Yeah. So he was there to promote it. And I was like kind of in like a little inner circle with some other people. And there was like a VIP party. So I went to that and he was there. Mind you, this was a time when he was supposed to be sober. He was drinking quite heavily. And so I was like, I'm going to go talk to him because, like, why not? And, like, we were in a small space. There weren't a ton of people. So I went up to the bar where he was, and he was by himself, just drinking. So I, like, said hi, whatever. And he loves talking about this freaking show that he's on. Like, that's all he wanted to talk about. Like, I was just standing there listening to him, like, so this is when he was still dating Raquel. And he was like, he was like, Raquel, slut. He's like, she will do anything I ask. Like, if she wants, wherever I want to put it, me, and like blah blah blah. And he was like, again, saying that she's not that smart, blah blah, like all those things. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And then And then he was like, I've definitely hooked up with Lala more than we've said.
Right.
Really just like spilling all this to me. And I'm just like, uh-huh.
So
Okay.
much tea. Oh my
I
God.
know.
This is such a full
Really,
moon Sag story. Full moon and Sag, and he's a Sag rising, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I
really?
mean, it makes
That's
sense,
funny.
especially like the more you witness him and just like even just watching him recently on the reunion, it's just kind of like, yeah, that's him. That's
I was
him.
listening
You know,
to Andy Cohen on a podcast today, and it was Martha Stewart's, and he was talking about how Bravo's made hundreds of people famous, and he's found it interesting to watch the various ways that fame has affected people. And he said that like the younger people, the Vanderpumps, the Southern Charm, like you definitely see how being older and more mature and more settled in who you are, like, yes, some of those people have changed, but like it's less likely that it's going to completely uproot your personality.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What do we think about his girlfriend, Allie, especially with her connections to being an astrologer?
adore her. I mean, she's so lovely. Like, you can actually have a normal conversation with her in the DM. So, love Allie and like really love that astrology is making its presence known on Bravo. I mean, between Vanderpump with Allie, and then you have Gabby, on Summer House, really leaning into it. I think this is only the beginning. I'm like really excited to see where it goes. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And it's cool too, because Allie, she's legit, has a website. Like you can book a reading with her. I considered it, but then I was just like, I don't know if I need a reading from her. Like not in a like anyone that wants to go do it, like go do it. I'm sure it'll be lovely. I just was like, I don't think I'd be doing it for the right reasons, if that makes sense. And I be around that, so but I think it's cool that she's legit in that way.
I think she studies under Chris Brennan too, right? I think.
Oh, really?
If I remember reading. Yeah. So I think she does like traditional maybe, but I've heard people get readings from her and they've all really enjoyed it as well. And she's so personable and all that good stuff. I mean, what is she like? Cat, Sun, Pisces rising, Libra, Moon. I mean, to me, like that's just so like the elder friend you want,
Totally. And I think she'll be really good. I mean, again, she's already currently doing it, but I think she's going to be a great gateway for people that are curious about astrology and maybe want to have their chart read. It feels like she's a really great presence for that. Like for the newbies that want to look at their chart. I feel like people that are going through their Saturn return, right? Like I feel like that's a really great niche for her.
So. Totally. And I also honestly really love that she's such a voice of reason and the way she's positioned herself on this show. It's just the thing she says, I think all men should go to therapy or see a therapist, and especially James. And it's like you see these like very cap things thrown in there, but it's all presented and wrapped in such a Libran and Piscean, like warm and compassionate way, like really well. Great ambassador.
Yes. Yeah, I'm here for it. I feel like the other other people dabble in it as well. Like I feel like Kristen Doty, she's like really progressed in her interest in spirituality. Like we have Dina.
Definitely.
I think so. I have a theory. I think Erica Jane is actually psychic. That's a theory of mine.
She has extremely intuitive. I think she's like kind of mentioned that about herself. Yeah.
Yeah.
She has
so. It makes sense.
Placements.
Yeah, she has her Aquarius moon in that 8th house, so very Scorpio, very intuitive house, as a Cancer rising also. I mean, innately with that moon connection. Yeah, definitely can see that. Can see that.
Definitely want to see it unfold more. And I think it will.
I'd love to see her as like a Miss Cleo type of situation. Like you call in, you talk to Psychic Erica. That could be really fun. And then it could also be kind of burlesque in like, I don't know. I'm seeing variety show / psychic situation.
Yeah, that would like Miss Erica Jane.
Maybe that's like what's going to happen at the Vegas show. Maybe part psychic, kind of like that whole magic vibe of Vegas.
With like a crystal ball, and she just goes for it. I would love that. And I feel like, I'm pretty good at depicting like who has gifts and whatnot. Like I really feel like she can like see things, like see people and hear them. Like I don't know. She just feels like she just has that. So yeah, maybe it should be a spinoff or her Vegas show, which would be cool.
That'll be fun. That'd be fun.
So yeah, those are just some of the, I don't know. Is there anyone else that's like, I feel like there's,
Well, you know what's so funny? You mentioned Erica Jane because I was just thinking how obviously like when Beverly Hills was airing, everyone was raining down so hard on Erica. And I felt like the astrologers who watch Bravo, all knowing her chart, looking at her chart and seeing what was happening, had just so much more empathy and like, you know, there was an understanding, a deeper understanding, I feel like, than just sort of like the Bravo mob mentality. So I feel like Erica and the astrologer community have kind of like there's an understanding like, oh yes, I understand maybe more about you than other people at this junction, and I hope you are like rise from this. And I guess we'll see where she goes now.
yeah, I mean, she is. She seems good. She's got her show. She looks good. And like even speaking of Beverly Hills, okay, how are we feeling about Lisa Rinna no longer being a part?
I could see her making a comeback in the future, and I think she needs this break right now.
Yeah.
Certain people, you just need to take a step back. It becomes too much Dorinda, Bethany. Yeah, those New York girls, they put themselves through the ringer and push it really far. I think Beverly Hills is going that same direction. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, that's not going to be the last we see of Rinna. I could also see her trying to take a step back and like making a show about her family and seeing if that goes anywhere.
Potentially, yeah. Yeah, I could see her trying
Yeah.
that. She's got to fulfill her rosé orders, and
She's a hustler, and she
No.
always has been. So she's
Yes.
going to keep hustling that little hiney along until it actually needs a Depends diaper.
right, that's
Yeah.
true. She totally will. Like she will be selling anything. I mean, QVC, that was such a smart move to bring her on because I feel like that's honestly her gift, right? Like that QVC, that salesperson, that ability to just like sell and talk up anything. Like she can do it.
Yeah, and that like middle America audience that caters towards is just going to eat her up. Like she that's where she's from. She knows how to like speak that language and she knows what they're looking for.
Yeah, and like the people that used to like watch the soap operas all day long, like those are her. I guess soap operas are still on. I guess I consider Bravo my soap opera.
Exactly.
It's like the modern day soap opera.
That's why Andy created it. Like he loved All My Children and all, or what is that?
Yeah,
no,
that's right.
Days of Our Lives. All My Children was not a soap opera. Or was it? Anyway, I don't know.
It was, right?
But like he loved all
like
the soap operas. Clearly, I've never watched them. And he wanted kind of like a modern day version of that and a play on Desperate Housewives. Because the thing is like these women weren't real. And they weren't housewives. Vicky was running a huge business. So yeah, I don't know. It's so great. Just so genius.
Yeah. Speaking of Andy, I mean, well, in real time and us talking, his birthday's tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes. Happy birthday, Daddy Andy.
What do we think? What is your take on his chart? I know you're doing an episode on it too.
We actually have a live. It was going to be tomorrow. We were going to do a lunch live tomorrow, but we discussed it yesterday. We were like, we need to get back to our weekly recaps. Like we've been binging OC, and we took a step back from the weeklies, but you know, all these shows are wrapping. Like we have things to say.
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
Totally.
So as that being said, we're going to like touch on his chart a little bit when we record tomorrow, but next, what did we say? Tuesday at lunch, we're going to do our Andy live and talk about him, but also his synastry with Anderson Cooper and Teresa, of course.
I love that.
Yeah.
What would be like, you're just in like a sentence or two, your overall take on Andy based on what you know of his chart that you could share like right now?
I would say that it is quite literally the chart of Reunion King. It makes sense why he's sort of like this fatherly type of figure facilitating a review of sorts. You know, he has like a Gemini stellium, he has his Mercury in Cancer. And you can also kind of see it in the pettiness maybe that might come sometimes from the lines or the bonds that he forms and who he's, the favoritism and the clickiness. So to me, this is just so emblematic of his status as this reunion leader. But also, honestly, just someone so involved in any kind of communication, any kind of publishing. So it makes sense, like all these books, all these talks, all these podcasts, just any kind of hand in media. I mean, he was a media executive before. So it's just so spot on. And we don't know his time of birth, unfortunately,
I know.
which is that's just always so sad. But we do have Anderson and Teresa's time, so we wanted to look at that synastry and thought it would be helpful.
I haven't. I've dug into Teresa's, but Anderson now, so
yeah,
that'll be cool.
I'm excited. I haven't either.
That's gonna be really fun to listen to. I'm glad you're unpacking it in that way.
Yeah,
I love him.
Yeah,
I love him. I don't know him. Nor do I feel that I need to actually know him, but one day I will be. Tasha and I will be behind that bar. It's happening. We're going to be in.
Oh my God, it's so happening! I'm holding space for that. 100%. I already see you there. I'm actually surprised it didn't already happen. But wait, from the space of there's not really time, so it did already happen.
It's all happening everywhere, everything all at once.
Yeah, totally. Oh, I hope it's on Shotsky night.
Oh, I mean. Even if it's not, that Shotsky has to happen.
I mean, I feel like just go big, make it Shotsky night. I mean, if you're going to be on it, which you both are, we might as well. Okay, so who would be from the sphere of who we know now in the Bravo world, who would be the ideal guess? Assuming there's going to also be two. It's not going to be a one-person show.
Oh my
God, that's so hard.
Wow, what a question. I would want Chanel Ayan.
Oh,
and I would also and I would actually also want Lindsay Hubbard. I want to see their energies together.
Interesting. Oh my God. Open-ended questions like this are so difficult for me. But the first person that came to mind that I just think would be so much fun is Sonia Morgan. Because first of all, she's into astrology, but also she's just so kooky and you never know what to expect from her. And I love that. So then maybe some random actual non-Bravo celebrity, because she's always fun with an outside personality, maybe a dude so that she can flirt with them. I don't really care who he is, just someone fun for her to play off with.
Someone fun for her to flirt would be fun. I'd say Michael Rappaport might be a little too old, but
I would love Matt Rogers potentially too.
You love Michael Rappaport though. All the people that go on Watch What Happens Live, I get excited when he's on. He's so passionate about how he feels, and I am too. So I just love that from him.
Yeah, he gets so excited. My sister and her boyfriend, they live up in Vermont, and I guess he did a comedy show there. My sister's not into Bravo at all, and they didn't know that he was so into Bravo. I think they wanted to see him for other reasons, and she was like, Danielle, half the show was about Bravo. She was like, you would have loved it. She's like, I had no clue what was going on, and I was like, that's awesome. He literally used
That's amazing.
To talk about Bravo, and he was talking about Scandival and everything, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. But yeah, he's
a great outlet for him. I mean, he's just got so much content to talk about.
Totally, to weave that all together. I mean, that's actually not the worst idea to is there a Bravo, he really is doing stand up and Bravo, just how you're the Hyrule of the cosmos and Bravo. It's bring it into stand up.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to do what Joe Gorga's doing, or trying also do.
Yeah. Though I like Michael better.
But I'm not entirely sure that's going well.
Yeah.
Does Joe Gorga talk about all the franchises or just Jersey stuff?
I think just his stuff, but I haven't actually listened, so I can't comment. All I see is just the content on the feeds, of course.
Same. I've kind of done the same thing. From my perception, it's mainly just Jersey, because he doesn't know. I don't think he knows enough to even know anything outside of that realm. I don't think he would have the time to investigate it that fully unless people are feeding it to him, which I could see happening.
Totally. You know what I just realized? I wonder if, because we never knew Slade from OC. We never knew his birthday, anything. But I wonder if Joe and him have similar placements, just be given this random comedy storyline, both of them. I mean, like, where's the Sag in both of them, maybe, or where's the Leo even? But
Yeah.
just interesting to think of these two house husbands, different franchises, but kind of trying to do the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Joe Gorga's so Leo.
Yeah.
So Leo.
I know.
Danielle.
What are your thoughts on Teresa v. Melissa?
You know what? I try not to it's like I swing back and forth so often. And there's like just this deep part of me deep down that I just want them to get along. Cause I think that they really want to. When it really comes down to it, I think there's a part of them that really just wants to be a family. But I think they feel so much pressure almost at this point because they've had the conflicts they've had, rightfully so. They've had them. I just feel like, when are you just going to put down your swords and just be like, F this for the sake of our children, for the sake of what family means? I mean, I'm Italian, so like I understand that culture and I understand what happens when there's conflict, but I also, and it's literally like I'll just out it. My Italian family has the same intensity and the similar drama. And it's so freaking ridiculous. And I can feel it in my family and I can feel it in the two of them that they really do just want it to be gone, but their pride is just so at the forefront that they're not letting it. And I think we would all be here for it if they wanted to come to some kind of resolution. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
You know,
they were so fun when they were on good terms. That one season.
I was gonna say it was
Yeah.
and it's not saying that they need to be like best friends again, like or like be in that like synergy, but like just I don't know. I just feel like it's gotten so out of hand that they don't know what to believe anymore, or like even what to feel about each other anymore. And now they're just allowing so much outside influence and confusion and miscommunication like get in the way.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. We did like a Jersey binge as well. So before a season premiere, we try to do the binge to refresh. And for me, because I haven't seen some of these since I'm a little newer to Bravo.
Yeah.
But we did cover, Teresa and Melissa's synastry in one of our Jersey binges, part 2. And one aspect that really stuck out to me was Melissa's Jupiter in Cancer, I believe, conjunct Teresa's Venus and Mars in Cancer. Just so much symbolism packed into that aspect. Cancer, the sign of the family, Jupiter, and Jupiter sort of this, maybe underconfidence or confidence in wanting the family, and Mars and Venus, a battlefield family. It's just so ripe and it's so rich. And I love Bravo and astrology. So
because it just like how we were all drawn to astrology for our own personal reasons, it's like when you look at these shows and you want to understand the characters more, I call them characters, but the people more so, astrology just gives that gateway, like, oh, I understand. Even when maybe all you know is their sun sign, that's still enough to kind of give you that little window into, okay, I get them a little bit more now. Like I understand why they might be triggering me, right? Like I find a lot of times too, individuals might trigger certain things in me, and then I'll look up their chart and I'm like, well, that's why, right? And so
I think it's like what Tasha was saying about Erica Jane and her, like the perception of her, like she didn't commit a crime that we know of. She didn't even know about it. Like, sure, she was getting money in her account, but the dude was a wealthy lawyer. That she could have been completely ignorant to that. It was how she was handling it that people were so turned off by. And then when you look at her chart and you see how Cancerian she is and how guarded and how like shut down she's going to become, it makes complete sense. And like, you can't, or even when you look at Teresa's chart and you see like, I don't remember the exact placement, but the Neptune and like it's delusion.
Neptune's on her descendant.
On her descendant. And I think it's aspecting her Mercury or something like that. It's just like there's delusion just kind of caked in. And so when she's seeing things so differently than everyone else, and everyone's like, oh, well, clearly she's lying and blah, blah, blah. It's like, but is she lying, or is that her perception of what's happening? So it's just like, again, like more compassionate, more understanding, and just like more 360 view of these people who are turned into characters for sure. Like some of them do it themselves, others it just happens with the storylines and what it brings out of them that season. But
Totally. Yeah, and I think a lot of the things we see would still happen for them behind the scenes with those placements. Like I'm assuming what happened to Erica, like that would still have happened in real life, and we would have probably still heard about it on the news, right? Maybe we wouldn't have understood who this woman was, but there would have been a big thing on the news about this big lawyer in LA and what he did, right? And she probably would have been triggered. I mean, we saw it in the beginning. Even Teresa as well, you can see like a little bit vulnerable when they first were on the show, you know, when things first started airing. They, you know, there was a little bit of a guard. And then we just see as it progressed, like, okay, it makes sense why they're reacting in the way that they are at this stage of their duration of the show.
Yeah, interesting. A thought just came to me. The moon's in Scorpio. It's in my 12th, so some downloads maybe. But I wonder if, you know, there's comfort in the discomfort in relation to this. Like it almost feels more comfortable the way they ingratiate themselves in this family drama as this storyline, knowing this is the storyline that's kept this going for so long. And how do you break away from it? The fear of the unknown.
Totally, right? Who are we if we change it up or find resolution? Will we be boring? Will we be written off? Will we not be relevant? You know, and even though no, I love this. And it's like, even though we don't want, like, I assume they don't want the attention, they do want the attention, right? You don't want people talking about you, but then when they're not talking about you anymore, it's almost like, wait, what does that mean? So that could be something.
Totally. Yeah, I just, you know, when the reunion was like, well, you keep using us as a storyline or accusing us of using you as a storyline, but what is your storyline without us? And it's like, well, Melissa.
Yeah.
Interesting point.
I know. I wanted to ask you, okay, so speaking of reunions, what do you think with Vanderpump? You know, everyone keeps talking about this like big rumor or this big reveal. Do you have any theories about what it is?
I know Lisa's already like denied it. I still think she knew long ago. And there was that one theory that popped out. I can't remember, but it was basically kind of explaining why Raquel's so much more detached from the situation, or seemingly emotionally detached from the situation. The rumor about how her and Tom had the pact a long time ago while she was obviously still with James, and you know how I think that affair during the James era is probably going to be blown up even more, I would think.
Yeah.
We'll see though. I'm excited.
I have no idea because I don't watch Vanderpump. So like, okay. I'm just, every time this comes up, I'm just like, yes. I am, you know, I'm like, I never was intrigued. Even at the beginning of all this, I wasn't really intrigued. Now I know one day I will watch it, but yeah I don't know that day is soon.
I've always been a Vanderpump fan from day one. So this was pretty exciting for me when it all went to. I mean, I definitely went through periods where my interest was fading, and it definitely was. I remember even like going into this current season before this all blew up, I was like, what is going to be this season? Like, what's going to really be the thing? Are we just going to be watching filler? That's kind of how I feel Southern Charm is now. It's just like we're watching them go through the motions. And I was kind of anticipating that. I thought they were going to like just kind of showcase Lala and Randall. And I was just kind of like, meh. And then at least it turned around to give us some juice. But yeah.
Well, I think, you know,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think, you know, when it did blow up, you know, for me, it was just, oh my God, all this astrology is hitting like all over the place. And, you know, above all, like for our show, for purposes of our show, that was kind of like, oh my God, this is the big thing. And of course, there's all this other personal stuff behind it and the history. And, you know, I never want to like discount any of that, but it's just, to me, this all needed to happen. And in some way, if it wasn't going to happen, like, I don't believe Tom and Ariana were supposed to maybe like end up together in that way, but I do think that he could have definitely, you know, Cancer men. This is a thing on Bravo shows, right?
No.
Tasha and I are also convinced, like, I don't need to know these people or have watched them over the past few years to know that they have some serious past life karma, and like I would love to know what happened in a past life that led to this happening in this life, because it is so incestuous and there have been so many. It's just so wild. And then to be picked up on a TV show and have it displayed to the world, like what happened in a past life? How was I just so
No,
that's
you're
what I
so
care
right.
about.
Yeah, especially like the younger casted shows like Summer House, Southern Charm, Vanderpump, right? Like they've all slept with each other, like they've all like, yeah. So it's like, what was the agreement in this life of how you were going to work things out?
It's so interesting because I'm thinking about, stuff generationally, right? Like the housewives traditionally have been on the older side, and we've seen more younger housewives in the mix as of late. But if I'm thinking about, this quote unquote younger generation, this Pluto and Scorpio generation it's almost like you can kind of see that Plutonic influence really permeate from this sort of outer generational planet, really.
That's a really good point. You're absolutely right. Like when you look at it from that perspective, it just kind of lands. You're like, oh, yeah.
Everything's just sex, betrayal, secrets. Like that's just like there's just so much of this intimate drama.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good take on that. I haven't, some of the newer shows I'm not a below deck person.
It's so good.
And they just turned me on to that. I just got turned on. It's so good.
What turned you on? Because I've tried. I don't know what I make it sound like I have a real problem. I'm like, I don't know what my resistance is. Like, who do I need to talk to so that I can get into it?
It didn't interesting to me. Like, why would I care? You know why? Why would I care? Here was my thing. One of the reasons that I like these shows is you see character development over time. So if it's a new crew for the most part each season, I don't care about just seeing you for one season. I want to see growth. I want to see you come back. I want to see you change. I want to see dynamic shift. So that's why I wasn't necessarily into it. But some people do stay. And that's also what makes this interesting is you see them then interact with different people. Like how did they manage different underlings and deal with different personalities? And yeah.
Yeah. No, that's
Kate Chastain. Mm-hmm. Kate Chastain, in a nutshell, is a singular. Oh, she's in Chef's Kiss. She's incredible. Incredible.
Well, she was on. I did watch. There was like that spinoff. I think it was on
The Traitors. No.
Yeah, she was on that. Right?
I love The Traitors.
I really enjoyed it. It took me a little bit to get into it at first. Like I think the first episode was a little slow for me, and then I was totally digging it.
I was not into that. I was so bored.
This is why I love Emma.
Political maneuvering. I don't need that in a show.
No, I think it's fun.
Yeah. I know people love that, but I never liked like Survivor or any of those other ones. I don't need people kicked off. I don't need some trickery. Like that's already going to happen naturally because we're human.
Yeah. Like I think if there weren't like Bravo celebs on it, I don't think I would have tuned in because I think there is another version of that show that has just like
apparently it's much better. The UK one with no celebs is amazing.
Which kind of
and that's also on Peacock potentially, or the Australia one. I don't.
Yeah. So that could track, but okay. So how are we feeling about the new OC? I know you're going through a binge, right? Did you finish your binge of the OC?
We have one more part. I need to still get on that. But you know what? Out of all the seasons or all the series, OC was the one I was dragging my feet on the most. I think I just didn't feel like I could maybe relate or understand the woman in a way. And then I'm just, oh my God, amazing. This is such an incredible perspective. And Vicky is just such an iconic figure in the space. And I mean, season 10 and 11 of OC, just incredible. I mean, even with Shannon too, I mean, 9, 10, 11, that's just such a sweet spot for that franchise. Just, wow, great entertainment and really real stuff. Or fake stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a hybrid.
Fake real, who knows?
I love OC. I've been watching it since 2006 when it first aired. I love the evolution. When Tasha first started, she was like, the first season so slow and boring. Can I just skip this? And I was like, no, you have to watch it. Like, And then I went back and I started to rewatch it. And I was like, oh, wow, actually, this is painful. Maybe I'll skip it because I know what
I
happened.
did the same thing with the OZ. I was like, yeah, I'm good because I watched it from the onset.
If you haven't seen it before, because it's where it all started, and it is such a different formula from what exists today. So to see where it started and how it evolved, I personally find fascinating. Yeah, OC is so good. It's had such incredible personalities. I guess I'm excited about the new season. The past few seasons have been kind of hit or miss, so we'll see.
Yeah, the last 2 seasons I feel like I wasn't that jazzed about, but I'm excited that Tamara's back, and I'm curious how Taylor is going to play into all of this. I really liked her on Girls Trip. Or I think I just liked seeing her again. Like I was always rooting for her back in the day on Beverly Hills. So seeing her on Girls Trip, it was just nice to see her and see how she's doing, you know? So
she really had such a rough go at it. Beverly Hills, poor Taylor, honestly.
I know.
It will be interesting to see her. Is she the first person to switch a city?
Yeah, she's the first crossover.
Really interesting, and I hope it's the beginning of many more because I just think that's interesting too. I mean, they all have such specific vibes, like what happens when you start mixing them. Because I personally think the girls' trips have been a letdown, every single one of them.
I didn't even finish the last one. Where'd they go? Thailand? I haven't finished it yet.
Did you get to the Casa Azul of it all yet? The missing bottle?
Yeah, I don't know. I just, it's like that feeling when you forget that you need to finish it. That's kind of how it's been. But
yeah, that's never a good sign.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't mind the one so much when they were at Dorinda's house, just because I found that amusing that Dorinda basically thought it was her. I don't know. Just seeing her in charge, I thought was amusing. She's a Sag.
There were some entertaining interactions on that one. But again, overall, I thought it was a weird mix of people, but not in a fun way. And then, I mean, Vicky having been dumped the day before she got there just completely took her out of it at all.
I kind of loved that though.
Yeah.
I don't know. Although
I wouldn't have wanted to do that.
Where she was outside talking about vaccinate, that was really interesting, and I'm glad that happened. So, I just love
little gems, but
all the different things, all the different people, all the different perspectives. It's just that's why we love this.
And I do think there's something to be said filming it in their home turf, right? In their city where, all of the cast lives there, all of their interactions live there, their favorite restaurants, their, whatever it might be. I think that just makes more sense in the model of it all than, polling. And yes, they go on trips during the show, but I think just a solo trip, I think, we're realizing it's not gelling so much.
Yeah, I think just the 5 or 6 days that they go away isn't enough time to really have anything happen. Or maybe it's 10 days. Whatever it is, it's not enough to create 7 episodes out of.
Yeah. It's just a different dynamic, right? Ultimately there's just also a breaking of the fourth wall. There's a self-awareness. So it is a different flavoring of a show. I think it's interesting. Obviously, Girls Trip meets Legacy New York coming soon. And I think that would be an interesting dynamic as well to see these women like Teekman. I never thought I would see her again interact with all these other housewives from the same city. So maybe it's a new frontier. I don't know, but a lot of experimenting going on, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah. So I like the idea of that. She's a random choice though.
It is. I mean, I think, to your point, I think it's a good experiment. I think it was a good idea. Let's do this, but it needs to be reworked a little bit. And I don't know how you change that without, because again, they don't want to be transported somewhere for a month, 2 months. That's not necessarily going to work. And that's not the point either. So it's how do you create these hybrid experiences?
I feel a month could be fine. And then isn't that kind of what Summer House is? They have a house for a month and
kind of, but they they go back and forth between their home in New York City though. So they're together on the weekends, then they go back home. Winter House, they do 2 weeks, I think.
Same with Summer House, Martha's Vineyard. It's
Okay.
consecutive 2 weeks.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is. Okay.
Maybe we just need like a little more time in order. I think also it just seems more forced and produced because like these people, each person plans something. So it's in this very overproduced way versus when they go on trips sometimes and they do the same thing. It seems more casual and
That's true.
less like
when it's someone's
forced
thing.
shade. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think maybe, getting rid of that. And maybe even they create more opportunities for them to hang out leading up to the trip. I don't know what that looks like, but maybe that would help. I don't know. And then that might give them more things for them to talk about. Well, like when so-and-so and I were getting drinks the other week, and then it slips that we were talking about this person, right? Like, because that happens in a lot of the show, right? It's like, what are they doing when they're off camera that now they're
Really, we're just asking for more. We just want more. Just give us more, Bravo.
Yeah. So here's a question I had for you both as we kind of start to wrap. Like, if you could, okay, Bravo comes to you and they're like, hey, we need a new show. Knowing what you both know astrologically and from the sphere of Bravo, what kind of show would you pitch to us?
I would pick a cosmic coupling matchup, a crossover with all the Bravolebrities who are still single, housewives, everything, and create like a matchmaker show, like a mini limited series.
I like it. I'm into it.
That's a really good one.
I really like that.
I like that too.
Bravo, if you're listening.
Yeah, now I forgot it because that one was really
I totally want to segment this clip and just pull it out. I feel like, what would the name be? It's got to be like.
Oh my gosh. What? Honestly, you just take Bravo astrology. Like, you can just
Bravo
placeholder.
Cosmic coupling, something like that.
Cosmic couple. Cosmic Cupid.
Cosmic Cupid.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm into it. That needs to happen because we love when we see the connections and like why everyone loves like Paige and Craig, right? Like that crossover. We love.
Does everyone love Paige and Craig?
Well, okay. I was like, as soon as I said that, I was like, maybe I didn't say that right. I think we appreciate or we're like into the idea of a crossover. Maybe we don't love them as a couple per se, which I think they fight a lot behind the scenes. And I think a lot of it's
they're both. I think their synastry is interesting. We haven't actually gone fully into it on the show yet, but we've talked about it here and there. They're both very independent people, even though, Craig's needs a little more. But in a weird way, the relationship does kind of work because she also has Venus in Sag, but she also has this very watery trine. Like there's just so much emotion there. There's so much control. And I think it's so much more about moving away from family. So it's ultimately like what she chooses to then prioritize. Because I think Craig accommodates the life she wants right now. But what happens when she's trying to then maybe accommodate him if she wants to accommodate?
Yeah, I think it gets sticky.
Yeah, I think their timing is just off. He's ready now, and she's clearly not.
No, and I think, again, the agreement is she'll go to Charleston, and she's not ready for Charleston.
It really seemed like she used to want to be there. And the more time goes on, I think she's realizing that's not actually what she wants, as Tasha was saying. I think like pre her Saturn return, she had these expectations that family would be the next step. And now she's living this incredible life that I'm not sure she had imagined she could have. And now she has it and she's living it. And why would she change that when she's enjoying this phase of her life?
Exactly.
As she should.
Yeah, no, totally. It makes so much, especially as someone that's lived in Manhattan. I now live in South Carolina. I even considered moving to Charleston. And I realized like it's such a small town and its charm does fade very quickly. And it's like you're going to be there even in just like a new couple or single. It's like you really, I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic. Like I have a friend who is moving from Charleston right now. She's moving to Charlotte because she's just like, it's short-lived unless you're going to have a family. Like it's really hard to stay here. And like where Craig lives, we did actually drive by his house because I was curious. Like again, didn't care if I saw him or not. But I was like, I want to say, and he's like far out from like the downtown. Like it's like a good like he's like past Mount
He
Pleasant.
just put a pool in, right?
Yeah, he did just put a pool in. So he's not like near all the action either. So like where he lives is literally kind of like a middle of nowhere location. So I imagine that that's not as exciting either, but I don't know. But we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Okay, so Emma, what's your pitch for a show?
I am still supposed to come up with one. I thought we just stopped
Maybe we'll come up with
Tasha's
one.
amazing pitch.
Yeah, I know. You're like, doesn't hers count for mine?
Yeah, you know what? Maybe what I would do is have like a housewives type of thing, either maybe in New Orleans, and focus on like astrologers, tarot readers, like have that be the group that is being centered around, because like spirituality is such a big part of New Orleans. So that could be kind of fun.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
I really like that.
I really do too.
And you'd have like confessionals of them being like, well, spirit told me that, and like that could just be really fun.
That could be really fun. I mean,
Oh my God.
Clarity as well. But like, so like my tagline is I may not be, or what my tagline is, I may be spiritual, but I'm not a saint. And I'm like, that's my spiritual Real Housewife tagline, right? Like I may be spiritual.
Love it.
But I'm not a saint.
That's good. I could see Carlton having that.
Oh my God, I fucking loved her, right? With her like castle that she lived in.
I wanted to love
my
her,
God, so
but
goth.
I just didn't love how she reacted instead of responding to what was coming at her.
Sure.
But that was a rough season
I was
for
just
the
going to
newbies.
say, and like the timing, I think if she maybe her kind of character showed up in this time of the universe.
Oh, totally. It would have been very different. Yeah.
That
was the Joyce season too. We were just talking about that. That was a rough season.
That was the Joyce season.
There was actually crossover. So the $1 million listing LA. I remember they were trying one of the Joshes was trying to sell Carlton's house. I think he would wind up selling it. It was an interesting throwback. I want to say it was either this season or the one before.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, and it's like,
I wonder what's happening in her chart.
Yeah, I think I don't remember anymore, but I think I looked it up during that episode because I was even like, what is she up to? I think she moved back to the UK. It's like,
interesting.
They got divorced. Yeah.
They
got divorced. He's still in LA. She moved to UK. I don't know. I was going down a little rabbit hole, but I like your idea as well. I'm into both of these. All right, we're gonna pitch.
I was gonna say, I mean, obviously, Cosmic Clubhouse, please, on the show, House of Bravo. Thank you. As like its own little segment on Bravo, that'd be great.
I mean, it could be like the People's Couch, where we're just like watching shows and pulling people's charts and reacting to them.
I love that too. Yeah. Like
late night
theater.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, I like that as well, and I do think people would be really invested in that. So
yeah.
Emma, I forget, do you have like your tagline, your housewife tagline?
Oh man, I remember I wrote one because we were like talking about that, and I remember half of it, but I don't remember the punchline. I probably have it written somewhere. Do you remember yours?
I think it was, I may love to read the stars, but nothing beats reading you for filth.
Oh yes, that was so good. Yeah. Oh, I remember. Mine was I might be highly mutable, but you'll never mute me.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yes, I remember. It was very good. I was like, no, she has to remember. That was so good.
I love that we all have one, right? Like we already are.
You have to when you're a fan. You never know. I should probably like actually remember mine so I can pull it.
I literally have it on my Instagram profile because I'm just like, I feel like it's a good way for people to understand who I am.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm into all of this, like, trust me, I'm not like up my butt about it,
Different flavors in the community.
There's a lot of different flavors. So this is just it's mine. And I love learning about your flavors today. Yeah.
Yes, and yours.
I had
and
so
yours
much fun
too,
with you both.
obviously.
So,
oh my gosh. Thank you for having us. This was so much fun. So much fun. I really enjoyed myself.
I did too.
I don't want to speak for Emma.
No, it was really fun. I could talk to you all day.
Lovely.
Yeah. So I have all your info in the show notes, but like share how can people that like don't want to pay attention to that connect with you? Because they're like, oh, I really like these babes.
Well, you can find our Instagram for the podcast. It is at the Cosmic Clubhouse, and the podcast itself is called House of Bravo. You can find us wherever you stream your podcasts. Myself, personally, you can find me at Emma with one M, EMA.JONES. I do astrocartography and human design readings. And for anyone listening to this show, I put together a coupon code. So just add in DMHOV, and you can get 10% off a full reading.
Very nice. And I'm Tasha. My handle on Instagram is at agent.of.pluto. I'm an evolutionary astrologer, and I actually just posted my offerings on my page. I don't have a coupon, but I would say that just because I'm early in my career, my rates are pretty accessible right now. So definitely check it out. I do mini readings. I do full intuitive sessions. And I also do private events if you're local to New York. So definitely check out the page. And I write a bunch of stuff. So, check it out as well.
I love it. Well, thank you both for hanging with me. I so appreciated our time together.
Thank you, Danielle. This is fun. We love talking about Bravo and astrology.
The best.